Imagine waking up to find out you owe $30,000 for a loan you never took, then realizing your own sister stole your identity to get it. Hey, thanks for being here. What you're about to hear is something I never thought would happen to me. If it makes you stop and think, go ahead and share it, drop a like, or just tell someone who needs to hear it. So, I'm Alyssa. I'm 25, living in Arizona, and honestly, I was finally starting to get my life back on track. I had just come out of a rough breakup, still paying off student loans, but things were okay. I had a steady job, a little apartment, and I was proud of how far I'd come. Then one random Thursday morning, I got a call at work from a number I didn't recognize. I let it go to voicemail, but when I listened, my heart dropped. It was a debt collector saying I was behind on payments for a $30,000 auto loan. I laughed at first, figured it was a scam. I hadn't taken out any loans recently, definitely not for a car. But something felt weird, so I called them back. They confirmed my full name, social security number, and address. My stomach flipped. They said I owed money on a brand new SUV purchased 2 months ago. I told them they had the wrong person. I didn't buy any car. I didn't even own one. Still shaking, I went home and checked my credit report. And there it was, clear as day, a $30,000 loan sitting under my name. I stared at it, not understanding how this could happen. I looked at the loan application details and something caught my eye, the signature. It looked like mine. Almost. But off just enough. I pulled out an old lease agreement to compare. Same curve on the A, same weird slant in the Y. My head started spinning. Whoever did this knew my handwriting, knew my info. It couldn't be random. I went to the dealership listed on the report. The clerk pulled the file and said I'd need ID to get more detail. I showed mine, and they looked confused, like they'd seen me before. They brought out the paperwork, application form, ID copies, and the signature page. That's when I saw it. A blurry, printed copy of my driver's license. Only it wasn't mine. The picture was wrong. My name and info, but someone else's face. And suddenly I knew. I recognized the photo. It was my sister, Brianna. I just stood there, staring at it, not saying anything. I felt cold, like I was outside my own body. I didn't want to believe it, but deep down I knew. She had done it. She used my name, my credit, my life. And this was only the beginning. I couldn't sleep that night. My mind kept going back to that blurry photo and the fake license. It didn't make sense. Why would Brianna do this to me? We were sisters. Sure, we had our differences growing up, but nothing that would make me think she'd steal from me like. The next morning, I sat down at my laptop and pulled up a full credit report, just to be sure. My heart sank all over again. There it was in black and white, a $30,000 loan taken out 2 months ago for a luxury SUV. My name was listed as the borrower, my social security number, my address. I felt sick. The report showed the dealership's name and address. It was in a town about 40 minutes away. I grabbed my keys and drove straight there. The whole time, my hands were shaking on the steering wheel. I didn't know what I was hoping to find. Proof that this wasn't happening? Some kind of mistake? But deep down, I knew exactly where this was going. When I got there, I told them I had questions about a loan in my name. They asked for ID, pulled up the file, and said the buyer had already taken delivery of the SUV weeks ago. Then they showed me the paperwork, application forms, income statements, and the same printed ID I saw before. I asked if they had any security footage from the day the car was picked up. The guy at the desk hesitated, but eventually went to check. When he came back, he motioned for me to follow him to the back office. And there she was. The video wasn't the best quality, but I could see her. Clear enough. Brianna, standing next to a silver SUV, smiling and signing papers like it was no big deal. She even had sunglasses on her head like she always did. My face went numb. I drove straight to her apartment. She opened the door like nothing was wrong. "Hey, what's up?" she said, like I was just dropping by for coffee. I didn't even say hello. "You used my name, my credit. You bought a $30,000 car pretending to be me." Her face dropped for half a second. Then she rolled her eyes. "You weren't using your credit, and I needed the car for work. I was going to pay it off." I just stared at her. "That's not how this works, Brianna." She shrugged. "You're being dramatic." That's when I knew she didn't feel sorry. Not even a little. I sat in my car outside Brianna's apartment for almost an hour after that. I couldn't drive. I couldn't think. I just kept hearing her voice in my head. "You weren't using your credit." Like it was a pair of shoes I left in her closet. Like it was hers to borrow. Growing up, Brianna and I were close. She was only 2 years older, and we did everything together. Sleepovers, school dances, sneaking snacks at night when mom was asleep. We were like built-in best friends. I always looked up to her. She was louder, funnier, bolder. When we were teens, we'd share clothes, talk about boys, binge dumb reality shows, and promise we'd always have each other's backs. No matter what. Even after college, When life started to pull us in different directions, I was still there for her. Especially last year, when she was stuck in that awful relationship with Kyle. He was manipulative, controlling, and I'll never forget the night she showed up at my place crying with a bruised arm and nothing but a trash bag of clothes. I let her stay with me for 3 months. I drove her to job interviews. I helped her get back on her feet. And this is what she did with it. She didn't just lie. She stole from me. She used me. Like my life was something she could sign her name over. Later that week, I tried to talk to her again. I wasn't even sure why. Maybe some part of me wanted her to explain it in a way that made sense. Maybe I just needed to hear that she actually felt bad. She met me at a coffee shop halfway between our apartments. She was late, wearing sunglasses like she was too busy to be bothered. When I told her how much damage she had done, not just financially but emotionally, she just sipped her drink and said, "You're being dramatic. Brianna, this is identity theft. I could go to jail for this if they thought I was lying." I said I was going to pay it off, she snapped, like I was the unreasonable one. "I just didn't think you'd freak out like this." "Freak out? You put me in $30,000 of debt." She shook her head and gave a little laugh. "It's not that deep, Alyssa. You always take everything so seriously. I just needed a car. I knew you'd understand once it was paid." That's when it really hit me. She wasn't sorry. Not one bit. In her mind, I was the problem for reacting at all. She didn't see what she did as a betrayal. She saw it as a favor she borrowed without asking. In that moment, something in me broke. Not just the trust. I think the entire idea of who I thought she was shattered too. The day after that coffee shop meeting, I called my mom. I was still shaking. I didn't want to believe this was really happening, but it was, and I needed someone, anyone, to take my side. I told her everything. The loan, the fake ID, the dealership footage, Brianna's reaction. There was a pause on the other end of the line. Then Mom said, "She didn't mean to hurt you, Alyssa. I'm sure she had her reasons." I blinked. "She stole my identity. She committed fraud." "That's not a mistake. She's your sister," Mom said, like that fixed everything. "Family does stupid things sometimes. Don't throw her under the bus." I felt my stomach twist. "So I'm just supposed to pay 30 grand for her stupid mistake?" "You always were the responsible one," she said gently. "You can handle this better than she can. She's been through a lot." I hung up the phone. Not angrily, just quiet. Empty. For the first time in my life, I felt completely alone. My mom wasn't going to help. My sister had betrayed me. My dad lived out of state and wasn't close with either of us. I had no idea who to talk to or what to do next. I sat on my bed for a long time, holding my phone, staring at the text thread with Brianna. I typed out, "You really blocked me from our own mom's help?" Then I saw the notification, message not delivered. She had blocked me too. That was it. The switch flipped. If she didn't care about my life, my credit, my future, then fine. But I wasn't going to let her get away with it. I filed a fraud report with the credit bureau. Then I called the dealership again and asked for every document they had. I made copies of the fake license, the forged signature, and everything else that tied her to the loan. I Googled attorneys near me and finally found one who specialized in financial fraud and identity theft. During our first meeting, I told him everything. He didn't blink. He'd seen worse, he said. But he did shake his head when I said it was my own sister. "This one's going to sting," he muttered. I nodded, holding back tears. Sting was an understatement. I didn't just lose money. I lost my sister. And now, I had to fight her in court like a stranger. My lawyer's name was Daniel, and from the moment we met, he treated my case like it mattered. Not just as a legal issue, but as a betrayal that deserved justice. "She committed a felony," he said during our second meeting. "It doesn't matter if she's your sister. What she did was illegal, and we can prove it." We started building the case right away. I gave him everything: copies of my credit report, dealership paperwork, a screenshot of the blurry ID with her face, and the footage from the day she picked up the car. He requested more records from the loan company and pulled the forged signature from the dealership's file. We even managed to find an email Brianna sent to the dealership from an address she used to use, confirming the car pickup. It was surreal. My life had turned into a court case. Every time I looked at the files, I didn't just see evidence. I saw memories. My sister's handwriting, the face I grew up with, now used against me. The court date came faster than I expected. I wore a plain black dress, hair pulled back, trying to look calm even though my heart was pounding. When I walked into the courtroom, Brianna was already sitting there. She looked different, nervous but done up. Her makeup was flawless, and she wore a light pink blouse like she was trying to look harmless. When she saw me, her eyes got glassy. I wasn't sure if it was guilt or strategy. When the hearing started, her lawyer went first. They said she was struggling financially, that she'd made a mistake, and that she never intended to harm her sister. Brianna even wiped tears from her eyes, shaking her head like this whole thing was just one big misunderstanding. Then Daniel stood up. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. He walked the judge through every piece of evidence, starting with the loan under my name, the matching social security number, the dealership footage showing Brianna signing the paperwork, and the forged ID with her face and my name. She knew exactly what she was doing, Daniel said. And the emotional damage here is just as real as the financial. The judge asked Brianna directly, "Did you apply for this loan under your sister's name?" She didn't answer at first. Then finally she whispered, "Yes." The room went completely silent. The judge's decision didn't take long. Brianna was ordered to repay the full $30,000 loan and cover all court costs. She was also warned that if she missed payments or tried to dispute anything again, criminal charges could follow. I didn't cry. I didn't smile either. I just sat there, feeling the weight of everything. She didn't look at me once as we left the courtroom. It was over, at least legally. But the damage? That was still very real. 3 months went by after the court ruling. I tried to move on, focus on work, keep up with bills, rebuild my credit little by little. I stopped checking Brianna's socials, blocked her number, and told myself I was done letting her take up space in my life. Then one Thursday afternoon, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. Normally I ignore unknown numbers, but something told me to pick this one up. "Hi, is this Alyssa?" the woman on the other end asked. "Yes. This is from Silver Pines Auto Recovery. We have a vehicle here registered under your name, a 2022 Silver Infiniti QX60. It was recently repossessed." I blinked. My first thought was, no way. Then I remembered. Of course. The SUV. Brianna's SUV. Or, well, technically my SUV. She defaulted, didn't she? I asked quietly. "Yes, ma'am. It's been sitting in our lot for a week now. We're preparing it for auction unless you want to settle or take action." I didn't even say goodbye. I just ended the call, grabbed my keys, and drove over. The impound lot was only about 20 minutes from my place, but every minute of that drive felt longer. My fingers were tight around the steering wheel. I didn't know what I'd feel when I saw the car. It was late afternoon when I pulled up. The lot was big, rows of cars behind a chain-link fence topped with barbed wire. A man led me through the gate, and there it was. The silver SUV. Clean but dull, sitting between a red pickup and a dented sedan. I stood in front of it and just stared. This stupid car had flipped my entire life upside down. It wasn't even a car Brianna needed. It was a luxury vehicle. Leather seats, chrome trim, backup cameras. Something she bought to look important. And she used my name to get it. I stepped closer and looked through the window. A phone charger still hung from the console. An empty fast food cup sat in the cup holder. It was like she had just driven it yesterday. All the anger I thought I'd buried came rushing back. Her fake tears in court, the way she told Mom I was blowing it out of proportion, the silence after blocking me. Now her perfect SUV was sitting in a repo lot, collecting dust. And suddenly, an idea crept into my mind. I stood there in the lot, arms crossed, staring at the SUV like it owed me something. Maybe it did. It had wrecked my peace of mind, my relationship with my family, and any last scrap of trust one had for Brianna. Now it just sat here, silent, spotless, like nothing ever happened. The guy from the lot, Ron, walked up beside me and asked if I was thinking about claiming it. I almost laughed. Claim it? I didn't even want it in the first place. But the idea was already forming in my head. What happens to it now? I asked. "Well," he said, "we'll clean it up and put it on the auction list. It goes out in a week. Starting bids usually go way lower than market price." I looked at the car again. That car was the reason for the loan. The reason I ended up in court. The reason I found out who my sister really was. And maybe, just maybe, it could be something else now. "Can I register to bid?" I asked. Ron raised an eyebrow but nodded. "Of course. It's open to the public. You just need to show ID and register online." So I did. Part of me couldn't believe I was actually doing it. I mean, who buys the same car their sister committed fraud to get? But maybe that was the point. Maybe I was done letting things happen to me and ready to take something back, on my terms. The auction was online. A few days later, I sat on my couch in sweatpants with my laptop open, watching the clock tick down. The Infiniti popped up on screen. 2022, silver, excellent condition, under 15K mile. Starting bid? $8,500. I almost choked. That thing had cost $30,000 new. Bids trickled in, $9,000, then $9,800, then $10,500. I jumped in at $11,000. Someone pushed it to $11,200. I hit $11,500. And then silence. The timer ran out. "Congratulations. You won this vehicle for $11,500. I stared at the screen. It didn't feel real. Less than half the original loan. Less than half the mess it caused. A few days later, I went back to the lot with a cashier's check and the paperwork. Ron handed me the keys with a small nod. Can't say I've seen something like this before. Me neither, I said. I opened the door and sat in the driver's seat for the first time. The leather was still warm from the sun. The car that tore my life apart was mine now. Not because I wanted it, but because I took it back. The first thing I did after picking up the SUV was take it straight to a detail shop. I told them I wanted everything cleaned, inside, outside, under the seats, even the air vents. I didn't want any part of Brianna left behind. After that, I had it repainted. Not a full color change, just enough to make it feel like mine. The silver was swapped for a deep charcoal gray. Classy, quiet, sharp. When I picked it up, I sat behind the wheel again and just breathed for a moment. It still felt strange, like I'd stolen back something I never asked for in the first place. But it was mine now, legally, fully. And every time I turned the key, a part of me felt stronger. I started driving it to work, to the store, even on weekend trips. It was a good car. Smooth, quiet, loaded with features I never would have paid for myself. Sometimes I'd look around at the leather seats and feel a sting. This wasn't how things were supposed to go. But other times I'd smile a little. Poetic justice. That's what it felt like. I didn't need to scream or get revenge in some loud, dramatic way. I just had to exist, quietly, confidently, in the very thing that was meant to break me. Then one afternoon, I pulled into a parking lot outside a grocery store. I was halfway through unloading my cart when I heard a familiar voice behind me. Alyssa. I turned slowly. Brianna. She looked shocked, maybe a little embarrassed, staring at the SUV like it was a ghost. Her mouth opened, but no words came out. Just a small, breathy, "Is that?" I didn't answer. I didn't know her one. I just shut the trunk, got into the car, and pulled away without saying a word. That evening, my phone lit up with a new number calling. I let it ring. Then came a text. "I just want to talk. Please." Blocked. Some betrayals don't deserve a second chance. I didn't need an apology. I didn't want another excuse. I'd heard them all already. This car wasn't a trophy. It wasn't payback. It was just mine now. A reminder, not of her, but of how far I was willing to go to reclaim my life. It wasn't until a few months later that the full story finally came out to the rest of the family. I hadn't planned on saying anything. After the court case, after Brianna blocked me and Mom defended her, I just wanted to be done. But something still lingered. This feeling like everyone thought I had overreacted, like I'd blown it out of proportion just to make things difficult. The final push came during a family dinner at our aunt's house. Brianna didn't show, of course. Mom made some vague comment about Brianna going through a lot right now, and then someone joked about how dramatic I could be when I was younger. I smiled politely, but inside I was boiling. After dinner, my dad pulled me aside. He lives a few states away and hadn't been around much during the drama, but he could tell something was still bothering me. "Whatever it is," he said, "you can tell me." So I did. Everything. The fake loan, the court case, the repo lot, the SUV. I even showed him the documents and the auction receipt. He sat there for a long time, just nodding slowly, face hardening the longer I talked. When I told him Mom tried to sweep it under the rug and Brianna still hadn't apologized, he stood up and quietly said, "I'm done with her." He meant it. That night, he called Brianna and told her not to contact him until she took full responsibility. It didn't make everything better, but it gave me something I hadn't felt in months: validation. For the first time since this mess began, I stopped feeling guilty. I had spent so much energy wondering if I'd overreacted, if I should have just let it go, if family was supposed to come first no matter what. But now I saw it clearly. Standing up for myself wasn't selfish. It was survival. I didn't do any of this to punish her. I did it to protect myself. One weekend, I sat down at my desk and started writing it all out. Not a rant, not a letter, just the story. I wrote everything, start to finish. The shock, the anger, the silence, the courtroom. I didn't share it with anyone, not even my dad. I just needed it out of my head. It wasn't about revenge. It was about clarity, peace. Getting it all on paper helped me finally breathe. Brianna still hasn't apologized, and I've accepted that she probably never will. But I'm okay with that now. I didn't need her to fix what she broke. I fixed it myself. It took over a year, but little by little, I paid off the remaining balance on the SUV. I didn't have to. Brianna was legally responsible for the loan, but after she defaulted, I made the choice to take over the payments. Not for her, for me. I didn't want another debt collector calling. I didn't want more stress or delays. I wanted to clean up the mess, even if I wasn't the one who made it. So I worked extra hours, skipped vacations, and tightened my budget. Every month, I chipped away at that balance like it was a wall I was tearing down piece by piece. And finally, one day, I made the last payment. No more loan. No more lingering shadow of what happened. Just a clean title with my name on it. Around the same time, I got promoted at work. Nothing huge, but a step up in title and pay. enough to breathe a little easier. My boss said she noticed how consistent I'd been, even during tough times. That meant more to me than she probably knew. I hadn't just kept working, I'd kept pushing through one of the most personal betrayals of my life. I checked my credit score a few weeks later and smiled when I saw the number had finally climbed back into the good range. Not perfect yet, but mine. Rebuilt with my own effort, my own choices. And that's when I realized this whole thing was never just about a car or money or a loan. It was about reclaiming something I didn't even know I'd lost. My power. For a long time, I thought being the good sister meant staying quiet, letting things slide, protecting the people I loved, even when they hurt me. But that's not strength. That's fear wearing a mask. Real strength is saying no, drawing the line, knowing your name is not for anyone else to borrow, twist, or destroy. I don't know if Brianna will ever try to reach out again. I don't care. I'm done waiting for people to be who I hoped they were. I'm focused on who I am and who I'm becoming. The SUV still sits in my driveway. It's just a car now. No weight, no drama. Just 4 wheels and an engine that takes me forward. And if you're reading this, wondering if you're wrong for standing up for yourself, you're not. Sometimes the ones we love the most leave the deepest scars. But healing starts with knowing your worth and never letting anyone use your name again. What would you have done if your own sister ruined your credit and acted like it was no big deal? Do you think Alyssa made the right choice by cutting ties, or should she have forgiven her? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'm really curious to hear your take. And if true stories like this keep you hooked, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next one.